Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, everyone, depending on your time zone. Welcome to Sisel's Doctor's Clinic. Your host tonight, from Denver, Colorado, Daniel D.W. Whited. Dr. Kurt Fisnick is in the house. D.W., take it away, my friend.
Welcome, everybody, to the Doctor's Clinic, and this is where we just jump into all kinds of things. You just never know what we're going to pop into. However, tonight's going to be very interesting, and Dr. Kurt Fisnick's with us, and he's done some massive research, and this is stuff he's compiled for years and put together, and some things that he's backed up what he's known for a long time with just even recent research of what's going on out there lately. And we're going to get into some, as a matter of fact, Dr. Kurt, we're just going to flip it to you right off the bat. There's a lot to get into. We'll follow it up with products towards the end. And I just trust everyone is just ready to take some notes. You're going to want to get the recording back on this later and take some more notes because it's pretty dynamic what we have going on here tonight and what Doc's going to get into. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, welcome. The entire world is your waiting room, and they are waiting on you right now.
Well, GW, thanks for the introduction, and welcome everybody to the call. My name is Dr. Kurt Fisnick. I'm a chiropractor by trade up here in Fargo, North Dakota. I actually don't practice chiropractic any longer after a motorcycle accident. I really got into the longevity and the age reversal medicine, and part of it is just teaching people how to stay healthy, teaching them about how to avoid some of the things that can it can trigger some of the health challenges that we have going on. And so that's why tonight I really thought I'd talk about Roundup and maybe not specifically about that particular chemical, because as we know, Roundup isn't just the only glyphosate chemical that's used anymore. In fact, I think I read somewhere that 70% of the glyphosate that's used in the world actually comes from China now after the patent ran out on the Roundup and on Monsanto a number of years ago. But it's interesting, and some of you probably saw the same video where a scientist from Monsanto was being interviewed, and he said it's so safe you could drink it. And the man that was interviewing, gentleman that was interviewing, takes out a jug of Roundup and a cup and he said, well, I'm glad you said that. I happened to bring some. And the scientist quickly backed up and backed away from the desk, and he's like, I mean, you could see in his face, are you crazy? I'm not going to drink that. But so that's kind of the scoop on it that people are seeing, and they go, well, if it wasn't safe, they wouldn't allow it to be sold in department stores and in Walmarts and places like that. Well, I'll tell you what, when you read up on this stuff, I mean, today, like DW was saying, I was just trying to get my facts straight. I was looking up the research, and it's scary what this stuff can do. The one that most of us heard about, of course, is Roundup. It's manufactured by a company known as Monsanto, and the patent ran out. It's made in China now, and so a lot of people are fighting Monsanto, and they're going, well, they hardly make any of it. But it was registered in the United States in 1974 as an herbicide, and it's one of the most widely used herbicides in the world. It's used on farms, it's used in yards, it's used on weed control in industrial areas. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, it's also used in aquatics, in controlling aquatic plants. And so the lakes, the rivers, the streams that we get our water from, they're affected. So it's everywhere. And as I was reading today, it was interesting that, some of the studies on glyphosate is that there's more people that have the diseases from it out here in the rural areas where I live, out in North Dakota. I'm actually driving home from seeing a couple of clients. I do house calls out here, and I'm driving home, and I'm driving through farm country, And I mean, this is where we're seeing a lot of the effect of it, and it affects something called the shikimic acid pathway, right? And if that's all you look at, and you say, that's what it does, yeah, it doesn't affect humans because we don't have a shikimic acid pathway. We just absolutely do not have that. It's not in our body. It's not part of the human body. And so glyphosate, based on that, doesn't affect humans. Well, what it does do is it affects plants and it affects microorganisms. And we depend on microorganisms in our digestive system to make it so that our digestive system works. We depend on getting certain nutrition from plants. And if the plant can't make the nutrient that we need, then the glyphosate becomes dangerous for us and it affects us. So that's what we're seeing. So pure glyphosate, in its pure form, it has very low toxicity. But when it's combined with other agents, all of a sudden it becomes dangerous, it becomes toxic, and other things are used to help get the glyphosate deeper into the plant and to get it to stick to the leaves of the plant. Again, it's herbicide, and eventually that ends up in our bodies. And fatalities have occurred because of it. And so there's a lot of conflicting reports on cancer caused by glyphosate. But the World Health Organization, March of 2015, just not much longer than a year ago, listed it as highly carcinogenic, which means that they know it causes cancer. And so what I try and tell people is that when I'm looking at something like this, we know that now that the World Health Organization has listed it as a carcinogen, how long is it going to take before that affects the marketplace? Probably about 10 years. Probably about 10 years before it really has an impact. And in some instances, in a lot of instances, probably for most of us, that's too long. What if it affects your child or your mom or your dad and causes some health effects? I mean, I'm just telling you, that's too long to wait. In 2010, there were 750 different glyphosate products on the market, and Monsanto had the patent until 2000 here in the United States. It's linked to diseases, but it also causes developmental and reproductive problems when repeatedly exposed to other mammals. They've done studies on pregnant rats, right? And some people might say, well, that's just a rat. That's not me. That's not a human. Well, the reason they study on rats is because rats have a system real similar to the system followed in humans. And besides that, it'd really be unethical if we started experimenting on pregnant women just to see what the effects would be. You can see that really wouldn't be good. But so when we start looking at the dangers of something like Roundup, you start wondering, okay, so it causes birth defects, it causes problems with weight gain, it causes sicknesses, and it causes increased infant mortality, right? Increased infant mortality, and that, when I read that, I thought, that's interesting. I want to see, where do we sit in terms of the world as far as infant mortality? And did you know, amongst the 27 most wealthiest nations in the world, amongst the 27 most wealthiest nations in the world, we've got the highest rate of infant mortality than any other country listed in that list. I'm going to pull over here because I'm getting a lot of road noise from my car, so just hang on one second. But we're listed in the top of the 27, and so you start wondering, maybe this has something to do with it because we use more of these chemicals than any other country on the planet. So what does it actually do? How does the chemicals affect us? Well, one of the things that it does, it inhibits certain amino acids, the synthesis of certain amino acids in plants. Amino acids like tyrosine, tryptophan, phenylalanine. And where do you hear about these chemicals? Where do you hear about serotonin, right? Well, serotonin is one of the key neurotransmitters in your body, and depletion or deficiency in that causes diseases like anxiety, depression, and Parkinson's, right? And I'll talk about that as we go. But it also doesn't just stop there. Glyphosate binds to minerals, key essential minerals that you hear DW and I talking about. You hear Tom talking about trace minerals, essential trace minerals, right? And essential means that you need them. Trace means that you don't need a lot of them. But glyphosate binds to calcium and magnesium and copper, zinc. It binds to some other ones that we're going to be talking about. Well, our body needs these trace minerals to complete the different biological processes that are taking place right now. As you're listening to this call, you have biological processes, thousands of biological processes taking place right now that depend on key essential trace minerals. And the patent, the original patent on glyphosate in 1964 was actually because they knew that it was a really good chelator for minerals. That was the first patent. It wasn't patented as a herbicide. It was patented for that. So what effect does that have on us? Well, a lot of the recent studies that are going on says that it can trigger things like renal tube carcinoma. It can cause hemangiomas, pancreatic adenomas. Right? This is some things that, as I'm saying it, you're thinking, wow, I know people that have that. And sure, the studies, again, they're done on rats and mice because nobody's going to volunteer and say, hey, would you drink some of this Roundup? Would you let us spray some of this on your body just to see what the effect is, right? So another study that was provided by the EPA way back in 1997 found that one of the other chemicals that are commonly mixed with glyphosate is something known as POEA, and they found that it's toxic to fish, it's toxic to other amphibians, but they also find that it's toxic to insect and earthworms, right? And those creatures, those organisms, are essential in our environment to make things work right, and so it breaks down chemicals in the soil and it makes it so that we can metabolize certain things out of the soil that we need in our body, minerals and things like that. But POEA is actually it comes from tallow from sheep and cattle, right? It's a surfactant. It makes it so that the chemical will bind to the leaves of the plants, but it'll also bind to the skin of you, right? It'll bind to your skin, and because it's tallow, it's something that your body will absorb in. So it makes it so that it'll actually absorb these chemicals in. And Laura Bacino has always taught me that once a chemical gets on your skin, it takes something like 26 seconds to get into your body. Well, think about that, 26 seconds, right? And I live up here in farming community, and most of America is close to a farming community. When a farmer is spraying that on the crops, it drifts into the towns, it drifts into the farmland, and your children are being exposed to that. Not only that, the other day, my neighbor was out spraying his yard for dandelions. He was out there and he was spraying different chemicals, and then he was spraying Roundup, and that was drifting because it was windy. It was drifting out of my yard, and I could breathe it in the air. I could actually smell the different chemicals. And so all of this stuff is they're relating it, they're associating it with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They're associating it with leukemia. And we start seeing on the research as a physician, I'll tell you, the diseases, the leukemia and the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, though the incidence of that is going up. The other thing is that scientists are now saying that we should decrease the amount of of glyphosate, and they decrease the amount of pesticides in cosmetics. And I thought, what? What the heck do you have? What do you have? What do you put in herbicides and pesticides in cosmetics for? What's it there for anyhow? And they have that in there, but it's in toothpaste. Certain toothpaste have it in there, and it's in skincare creams. It's in certain soaps. And I thought, wow, right? And so it's linked to neurological problems. It's linked to birth defect. It's linked to fetal death and neurodevelopmental disorders. So when the nervous system isn't being developed right in that newborn. And according to the Stockholm Convention of Persistent Organic Pollutants, 9 of the 12 were listed as these types of chemicals. So we've already talked about lymphoma, we've talked about leukemia, but what about, the fact that they're linking it to brain cancer and breast cancer, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, skin cancer, right? And it's not just from those people that are out there applying it to the farm fields, and it's not just the guy that comes and sprays your lawn, the chem lawn guy. It's the guys that are out there, the mom and the dad, who are taking a little bottle of spray and they're buying it at Walmart and they're spraying the yard. So residential and occupational exposures are things that they're linking it to. And they found that mothers that were exposed to this on a repeated basis, they found that their children were actually being born with certain types of blood cancers and brain cancer, other types of health issues, right? Parkinson's disease. I mean, holy cow! As a doctor, I see more people today with Parkinson's than I've ever seen before. You actually have an increased risk of 70% after repeated exposure, long-term exposure, and it's also associated with dementia. And the EPA did a study, and they said that that they were studying it as far as like food and digestive system, but what they forgot to study, and they're being criticized by this by colleagues and by other agencies. They're saying, well, you guys never studied the effect on the neurological system. Another study came from the National Institutes of Health, and they found that if somebody was exposed over 100 times in their lifetime, they had a 20 to 200% increased risk of developing diabetes. I mean, that's huge. And if somebody's applying to their yard, you don't think about it. But if they're applying it to their yard and then they're going out and they're working and they're being exposed to it there, I mean, 100 times doesn't take that long when you start thinking about it. And then we start combining it with other chemicals that we're being exposed to, and we're eating vegetables that have this type of product on the vegetable when you buy it at the store. I mean, your exposure is a lot higher than you think. But the biggest problem, and this is the one that I originally was going to talk about. Some of this other stuff, when I was reading up on it today, it was like, holy cow, I can't just talk about the digestive system. I got to talk about all these other things because it's important for people to know. But the problem that I know of is that glyphosate, again, it affects that pathway that humans don't have, but bacteria do. And the healthy bacteria that grows in your gut lining, it's affected by the glyphosate. And so when it gets into your system, what it does is it kills off the bacteria, and what it does, it causes something called leaky gut syndrome. And when you have leaky gut syndrome, your body can absorb things that it shouldn't absorb, chemicals that it shouldn't absorb. They've linked it to celiac disease. They linked it to an impairment of the cytochrome P450 enzyme, right? And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, what the heck is the cytochrome P450 enzyme? Well, what that enzyme is important for is that's an enzyme that you need to detox environmental toxins. So if this chemical is affecting the way that you detox other chemicals, I mean, think about what it's doing. It's going to have a relationship on other things. Then on top of it, the cytochrome P450 activates vitamin D3. Activates vitamin D3. And if you watch the news, if you're paying attention to anything in healthcare, you're seeing that we have a major problem in the United States with a vitamin D deficiency in our country. We're relating it to all sorts of things, including colon cancer. And the other thing that you're finding with the Roundup, with the glyphosate, is it's affecting the sulfates. And it affects the deficiencies with cobalt and magnesium and molybdenum and copper, some of these other rare minerals. And it's just, it's affecting everything. As you hear me talking, you can say I'm talking about a lot of different things. But think about this: when you spray it on a plant, what it does is it affects the amino acid synthesis in the plant, the tryptophan, right? The tyrosine. Well, your body needs tryptophan to make serotonin, and 35% of the plant's dry weight, when you dry it out, is actually supposed to be made up of these essential amino acids. And if the chemical causes the plant not to be able to do that, you're not going to get that when you eat your plant. Maybe that's why we're seeing such rapid increases in the rates of autism, and they've actually related Roundup exposure to autism. They've related it to the exposure to causing depression, right? Depression is caused from a serotonin deficiency, tryptophan, tyrosine, things like that. And in the synapses of your nervous system, it's affecting that. But what happens is in the gut system then, when you break it down and you cause a problem with the healthy bacteria, what happens is the unhealthy bacteria start to take over. And when that happens, what happens is you have decreased immune function. And we're actually starting to see new diseases that were never, ever diagnosed before. This started in the 1990s, and that's, they're relating it back to the glyphosate in Roundup, and it's causing problems with anemia because vitamin B12. Remember, I said it caused a problem with metabolism of cobalt. Well, cobalt, right, is used in the manufacturing, the synthesis of cobalamin. Cobalamin is the other name for vitamin B12. We're having a huge problem with vitamin B12 deficiencies in our country, and we're starting to see that all around the world. And we're starting to see another problem. It's called molybdenum deficiency, right? And if you're somebody that works with metal and different kinds of alloys, you've heard of molybdenum in that. If you weld, you've heard of that. And so it's rare to have a molybdenum deficiency because you just need a very little amount. But if you have a chemical like glyphosate that pulls it out of the body and pulls it out so your body can't use it, it's gonna trigger a deficiency. And the deficiencies involve something called sulfite oxidase. And I know that doesn't mean anything, and I'm not going to test you on it. DW, I will not test you on sulfate oxidase and xanthine oxidase. So, but if you have a deficiency in those two things, what that's going to do is that's going to cause a problem with sulfate stability, and sulfate storage. And here's where it becomes important. Everybody's heard of glucosamine sulfate. Everybody's heard of they've heard of MSM, methyl sulfonylmethane. You've heard of chondroitin sulfate, right? Well, if your body can't process the sulfates properly, you're not going to have any of the glucosamine sulfate. You're not going to have any of the MSM. You're not going to have any of the chondroitin sulfate, and that's going to start causing joint problems, extracellular matrices. It's going to cause a breakdown of the matrices that hold your skin, that makes your skin firm, and it can actually trigger wrinkles. So not only is it causing diseases, but it's causing us to age faster. It's causing us to appear to age faster. And so DW, he'll be talking about some of the products that we have that are called sulfated proteoglycans, right? MSM, glucosamine sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, but the other aspect of it is that when you start tying this stuff all together, it affects the nitrate metabolism. And what does nitrate metabolism have to do with our body? Nitric oxide. DW. Mention that. You got to talk about that. What product do we have that helps boost the nitric oxide, right? And so if you're exposed to Roundup or this glyphosate, you got to start looking at that. And it can cause problems where it's tissue ischemia. You're not getting enough blood flow. Start putting two and two together. You start adding these things together, and all of a sudden you start coming up with, holy cow, we've got some powerful products that not only can help heal up disease. We can't say cure or treat or anything like that. And I want to make sure that I say that. But it's like I could just go on and on and on. I mean, I could talk about the cytochrome P27A, right? And again, you're going, what, Kurt? Quit talking all this chemistry. But that's important for the vitamin D3 metabolism. And we're seeing huge deficiencies in that. And there's an inverse relationship between glyphosate and the levels of the micronutrients like sodium and calcium, sulfur, potassium, magnesium, nitrogen, iron, zinc, manganese, copper, cobalt, molybdenum that we were talking about, boron. DW, I mean, you can tell from that. I mean, holy cow. I mean, you just start thinking about all the products that we have in our lineup that can help with those sorts of things. I'm going to hand it over to you, buddy.
Man, I tell you what, Dr. Kurt Fisnick, I mean, there's nights that we just do awesome, but this is one where you just went to the ninth inning and you won it. There was 3 balls and 2 strikes, and you hit it out of the park for a grand slam home run to win it. Fantastic. Now, here's what we're going to get into next, and we only got just a little bit of time left, but however, there was so much he got into, so many products that are going to help support you where you may be having challenges. This is where, you're going to want to get this recorded and go back and just slow down, take notes, hit pause, take notes, hit pause, and literally just write this out so you can kind of wrap your brain around it. And so, but what's going on is, the Roundup product and a lot of other products like it have totally, especially those that are in the farming area, they spray with airplanes, they do all kinds of other ways of spraying, and, it settles down into the dirt and the dust blows up and it comes into your house, you're absorbing it, you're getting into it. And so one of the things you want to do is, number one, get away from and don't allow chemicals, hazard materials like this to get on your body. Do everything you can to put your fastest pair of tennis shoes on and run as far away from them as you can. But now, starting the detox, getting your body detoxed and getting the stuff out of the system, and then supporting your body to where some of the areas that it's been trashed. Okay, like we talked about how this goes in and just annihilates the trace minerals, the essential trace minerals. If we were doing a training, I'd have everyone repeat with me, and I'd have everyone say the word essential, and then you'd all go essential. We'd say it together. Essential means mandatory, non-negotiable. It's something you have to have, like oxygen and water, in order to survive, and you've got to have these trace minerals in your body. Well, when the Roundup and all this stuff is put on the fruits and vegetables that we're taking in, it destroys the little bit of minerals that are left. There used to be 3.5 foot of topsoil. Now we're down to less than 8 inches. Now it's some of my farm boy stuff coming out, but be it as it may, Doc's talking my language because I understand this. So there's several things we're going to do, and I'm going to cover them, and I'm going to go through fast. It's going to sound like a lot of products, but it depends on what's going on with you and what challenges that you're having. So get with the person that brought you to this call, and let's see if we can't, get you the support and the help that you need. Ficoidin's going to be a mild detox for you to start with, and here's what it's going to do. It's going to be a mild detox, and you want to take it, 7 or 8 teaspoons a day. until you detox and go through about a half a bottle, some maybe a full bottle, depends on how sick you are, how gunky you're feeling, and what's going on there. But you want to go through the fucoidan, and that's going to help detox the kidney and the liver so it can process and get rid of the rest of the toxins that we're going to get rid of here in a little bit. You pop into that, and you do the rest of the triangle of life as you started off with that. And a lot of this is broken down your cells, and you want to start repairing the cells, so you're going to use Eternity, and that's going to do a lot to help fight cancer challenges that could be coming your way if you're not ready for it. And then one of the things he talked about was Spectromax. He didn't say the exact product, but Spectromax is going to put the essential trace minerals back in your body at a therapeutic dose, because we're dealing with medicinal therapeutic nutraceuticals. We use Body Shield to get the heavy metals out. Some of this stuff, some of you've been really exposed to heavy metals, and you use that to get it out. To back up the detox in a couple different areas. Influence, and a new product that we have called Avenger. Sisel Immune is what it was once called, but it's taken on a new name based on results that we're getting. It's Avenger, and that's going to help you on a different level. Like you're talking about the fucoidan. Yeah, that's major. It's antibacterial, antifungal. It boosts the immune system, and that's a broad spectrum of taking care of your immune system. The Avenger comes in, and it's not quite as broad. It hits things from another level. You want to then, once you've gone through some of these products, you got some things out, you go through a super detox. This will help with your GI tract and help with your colon and get things detoxed there. If one of the things that can tell you if you're having problems, if your eliminator's not eliminating properly, you can use the super detox to you can use that as much as once you've gone through the whole protocol that's written on the bottle. You can jump in there and do, every other day or twice a week or as needed to keep things going. Now, you've gone through this major detox. Well, you better put the right probiotics back in your body and the prebiotics back in your system so you jump on our Balance D product. And in this glyphosate that he was talking about, that Dr. Fizz was getting into, it annihilates some of the heavy metals and some of the things you need in your body. And I say heavy metals, I didn't mean it like that, but like some of the iron, the boron, the things that you do need, essential minerals, not metals, excuse me there. One thing that you want to counteract that with and get yourself some help with, as you get older, your bones are, as a rule, not getting stronger. Well, with our calcium K2, they can. Now, a lot of this is settled in your brain, so you grab the Brain Vitality along with the Body Shield and you attack it as well. And then we've got a product that he was talking about. It's called 4 Restore, and put a big star by that one. This is a game changer, and you add Transfigure with it together. It works on your body in a level. I just put a new customer on it the last couple days, and I just got a text message that says, "Wow, this stuff is shredding me," and that was a very positive comment. And I know this person extremely well, which means it's absolutely helping their body get rid of toxins that are in it, and they were excited. I mean, absolutely excited. It'll help build muscle and restore nutrition for the muscles. I mean, we can't go through each one of these products tonight. However, but 4 Restore and Transfigure and your Triangle of Life, your Body Shield, those things are just, I don't even think they're negotiable. I mean, they're just non-negotiable. They're the things you need. Nothing is going to give you a lot of backup, and because this annihilates your B12s. And so your Sizzle Greens is going to give you a lot of B12s in it. Your Sizzling is going to give you the proper amount of protein and fiber, along with some of the other things you're taking to help the body get and stay cleansed as well, which means it's going to grab a hold of things and escort it out of the body, and it's going to be nutrition for the muscles. I mean, your muscles is a big part of your body, and if you're not giving them the proper nutrition, you're dead in the water. I mean, you're just melting away instead of building things. And so, but the 4 Restore, I'm just going to tell you, the results that Miss Helen and I are getting on it is absolutely fantastic. We feel better, we feel healthier, and we were nutritioned up extremely well, and especially myself, before we started that product. And I took it on, and I took the green bean one, or the green bean extract as well. That's brand new. The Transfigure and the Foreskin, is that what it's called? Forskolin, yeah, Forskolin. So I'm not a genius on how to pronounce these, but I'm telling you, the results we're getting on the Forskolin and even the green bean with the Transfigure and Full Restore. Guys, I was nutritioned up massively going through that necrotizing fasciitis soft tissue. I have been throwing things at my body to get it to respond and come back, and and I was just doing the best I could. And Doc knows this because we've had a few conversations. But once I got the Full Restore and the Transfigure and the green bean extract, I'm just telling you, and the Forskolin got it. I'm telling you, it really is a massive difference. And I go through major allergies this time of the year, and they're hitting me, and I can feel them, but they're not doing near the damage what they did last year or the year before. And so these are some of the things that help with that. So we've got a lot of products that will support you. About everything I mentioned, we're personally on, but we can help you, break it down to what's most essential based on some of the challenges that you're going through to give you the support you need, and then help your friends as well. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, double hugs, man. You're absolutely amazing. This is one of those amazing calls that is a game changer for us, and we so appreciate you. Anything you want to add before we sign off here?
I was just taking notes as you were talking. I just want to kind of sum it up for all of you that are listening, because when you go out and you share this with other people, you're not gonna take 35 minutes of their time to say it. So here I'm going to sum it up really, really quickly. The key points are, and write this down if you can. The key points are: glyphosate / Roundup decreases your body's ability to absorb minerals, decreases your body's ability to absorb amino acids, decreases your gut function, which causes leaky gut, decreases your immune function. If you can remember that, if you can remember those 4 key points, you've summed up 35 minutes of what DW and I just talked about.
We love everybody here, and get this call out to several people. And maybe Sir Rob will tweak a couple words that I mispronounced there and then correct it properly. But we're just us, guys. I mean, if you're hearing this, we're just us. I mean, Doc does the science side, and he does his research just like you would need to do yours. And we've helped, hundreds and hundreds, several thousand people get healthier. And we've done it just by addressing issues like this and taking them on. And I just don't know what's going on in your life to know which combination of these products would best serve you. But once you just use a little common sense, you'll figure it out. We appreciate everybody. Thanks for being part of the call tonight. And we will we'll catch you same time, same place next week. For the Doctor's Clinic, over and out.
Thank you, DW. Thank you, Dr. Fisnick. Thank you all for being here for Sisel's Doctor's Clinic. This call will be posted within a half hour, possibly 15 minutes. Until next week, we wish you Godspeed.